A new region, a new section under target by the Chinese government. But the same concept of Sinicization of a minority community branded as an effort to avoid religious extremism by Beijing. This time, the crackdown comes on the Hui Muslims of the Xining region in northwestern China. The Xining region, less than 2,000 kilometers from the Xinjiang region, is home to the religious minority Hui Muslims, constituting less than 1% of China's population, numbering at about 10.5 million. The minority group, however, is different from the Uyghur Muslims. The Hui Muslims have adjusted in Xining, trying to portray themselves as inherently Chinese and not a group influenced by foreign parties. They even adopted Chinese spiritual concepts and became linguistically and culturally Chinese. So why sinify a group that has shown itself to be Chinese? The answer probably lies in what China's version of being Chinese under Xi Jinping means. While Beijing has adopted a major shift in its policy towards ethnic minorities under Jinping, several scholars point out adhering to the Communist Party's values is what the premier wants. Now take a look at this picture. This is the Nangguan Mosque. Watch how the domes of the mosque have been taken down. The Islamic text at the entrance replaced with Chinese. Now look at this picture. One of the country's largest mosques, Dongguan Mosques, is something that the Xining region is famous for. Watch how the authorities have taken down the domes and minarets, a symbol of Islamic architecture, in a bid to make them look more traditionally Chinese. This is the Xiangala Town Mosque in the Qinghai's Zunhua Salar Autonomous County. This aerial view shows how the domes and minarets of the mosque have been taken down. The de-Islamification by authorities reportedly happened between the years 2019 and 2021. This comes a year after China reportedly demolished a mosque and built a toilet instead. In fact, an Australian think tank, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, accused China of demolishing nearly 16,000 mosques in recent years, majority of which have been destroyed in the last 3 years, claims that China, of course, has denied. This brings us to the United Nations statement. Just last month, a broad group of 43 nations condemned the Chinese government's violation of human rights against Uyghurs in Xinjiang region, calling out reports of torture or cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment, forced sterilization, and sexual and gender-based violence. 43 nations jointly issued a statement. The statement urged the Chinese government to allow meaningful, immediate and unfettered access to Xinjiang for independent observers, including the High Commissioner. Even as the statement drew sharp reaction from Beijing, calling it Uyghur education camps as vocational training to combat religious extremism, China's UN envoy even hit out at the US directly. Lies are lies, Zhang Jun said, saying the United States' desperate attempts to cover up their own terrible human rights record will not work. What is important to note here is that the one country that stands out at the UN is Turkey, who unsurprisingly wasn't a signatory of the statement. Interestingly, even Israel refrained from signing the statement. While Beijing denies all allegations against it, what is even more worrying is China's severe crackdown on the freedom of press, effectively locking down these regions from the press, from the truth coming out. The locals can't raise a question or even protest against the Chinese government, while several protests have erupted, urging nations to even boycott the Winter Olympics, scheduled to be held in Beijing in February 2022. In solidarity with the Uyghur Muslims, they have failed to garner a strong reaction from most countries. All this narrows down to the elephant in the room. Our country is failing to pressurize China's aggressive Sinicization policy. Does China still deserve to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council? Should its standing at the global stage be re-evaluated for the many excesses it is allowed to get away with?